Hi everyone, welcome to Casual Watch Talk Sunday Social. We've got two special guests today, both parts of Scottish Watches. So thanks, Dave and Ricky, for joining.
No problem.
Welcome.
Well,
like my fake trousers on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Not entirely convinced that's modern decor, but there we go.
Just to remind you, like, what you should be hanging up there. Well, we're going to talk all about Geneva Watch Days, which will be really cool. But should we start with the wristwatch check? Ricky, you're in the hot seat. What are you wearing?
Oh, well, I'm double wristing because I've been doing a lot of that this week to try and cram through as many timepieces as possible. We've got Mark on the line today, so I am wearing this little guy, which is one of my latest pickups. It's the Second collaboration with Christopher Ward, and it is the Year of the Snake. So this is the Nokia Snake, I don't know, homage, where the snake is actually working its way around and it's eating the Christopher Ward logo. It's got a hidden date mechanism where occasionally you'll see a little graphic popping up, and I believe it is the 12 different animals that's used throughout the Chinese New Year's that they have. And then on the wrist, just to keep it cool, I have got the Spinnaker SpongeBob, which is a bit like a Joker minion or one of the Wristmon series, but I actually think it's cooler. And we had a meeting with Konstantin Chaikin, and I had to look at all the stuff on the table. And for about $500, whatever this one was, I think this is absolutely incredible. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing today, nice and colourful.
Do the eyes move on it? Or
they do, but it's not like the actual Joker. One's a 24-hour, and the other is part of the chronograph. So it's not hours and minutes, but it's still pretty cool.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
And the lume's incredible. Can't show you that, but it is.
Oh, awesome. It looks like that's a fake curtain behind you, but that's like a real actual curtain. Yeah.
I've got the studio lights. It's like the episode of Knight Rider where Michael Knight is in the oven. So it's a little bit here. We've been doing
just the way it's dyeing your arms red.
It does give you some serious
put your arms back. Have you been seriously burned? Yeah.
That's it. Scottish sunlight hits you and you're a goner.
Yeah,
but we had all the equipment here because we were doing some recordings. We had a really good recording with Xavier from Chapek, which ended up turning into a bit of a Star Wars tribute. But you might have a video clip of that later on. Oh
yeah, pulled that up. Dave, welcome back. What are you wearing?
Shock horror. I've got a prototype of the Otter Tourbillon one. So it's a prototype one with a particularly gruesome coloured caliber on it, which is terracotta orange. But I've been wearing that, and I've got my Chaikin with me somewhere as someone's got. It's actually Mark's commented. Yeah, you're right. It is about 30k more, but I didn't actually pay 30k more for it, so that makes me feel an awful lot better about that.
Cool, awesome. Mark, what are you wearing?
Ploprof 70th anniversary. 75th anniversary, my mistake. There you go.
Beautiful.
We saw an homage of that. It's an old Swally, and it was actually pretty cool. So I'm going to have to hunt through eBay, see if I can find one.
It's got such a beautiful dial though.
Yeah, it's very good, the new one.
Yeah, awesome. Pete, you're up next. What are you wearing?
A vintage Alpina C-Strong 10 with the original compressor case.
No, we saw them. We saw them this week actually with some cool stuff.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's what I'm wearing today.
What was the brand, Pete?
Alpina.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So there you go. Sorry.
Yeah, very nice.
I'm only using my crappy webcam, so
awesome.
Can't really get out of the light.
Cool. And then I was. Somebody's always got to be wearing a Christopher Ward, and so I was wearing one, but then Ricky did us proud as well. So 2 Christopher Wards. They got double the exposure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's dive in. We've got some photos to show, got some news articles, but I don't know, Ricky or Dave, do you want to start us off about what you've been up to? Maybe Ricky, you haven't been on for a while. Do you want to kick us off about Geneva Watch Days? What was it?
That's a bad word there. It's late here. I think it's about nearly 11 o'clock. And we've been on the go for about a week. So what I usually do is come across if it's running Tuesday to Tuesday, I'll come over on the first Tuesday, which is 2 days before the show, acclimatise, unpack. Usually the weather here is approaching the 30 degrees, the sea, versus Scotland, which is approaching about 10 degrees. So there's that differentiation that you need to kind of compensate for. So that happened. This year it wasn't quite like that weather-wise. It was a little bit more Scottish. The whole scene itself over here, it seemed a lot more somber. People were being very honest about what's been happening. They've not been able to hide as they maybe have done the last few years, where everything's great, everything's fine, don't worry about it. There was a lot more truthfulness, honesty. The brands were more open. It wasn't as if they were kidding on things, and it felt more relaxed. The people that came were enjoying it more. The brands that were here, some new faces, some old faces, some people completely disappeared. But I think leveling it all up after a full week, it's been really good. What about you, Dave? What do you think?
Yeah, pretty similar. Definitely a bit more. Downbeat's the wrong word, but a bit more realistic is probably the best way to describe it. Like at the end of the day, you can't hide the global scenario that we've got, no matter where you kind of go in any continent in the world. Asia market seems to be the only one that actually seems to have a bit of stability and a bit of kind of continuity to it. Taiwan, Hong Kong seems to be pretty buoyant. China seems to be making a slow but steady return to a bit of form after a few years of kind of literally almost disappearing off the face of the earth in the watch market. But certainly the US, obviously, there's everything that's going on with tariffs and everything which has been problematic. Europe's just a little bit under pressure as well. So the brands are all a bit more transparent, shall we say, about how things are. Albeit a few of them, they've made moves. Their prices have gone up. There's no two way about it. There's an awful lot of watches that are, I mean, let's be fair, they've never been cheap. But, there's a lot of numbers like 150, 175, 200,000 being bandied about for watches from relatively unknown, very small volume independents. And those numbers used to be 70, 80, 90. Maybe they breached that six-figure tag. They're now way past that. They're well into that. And there's a few folk making comments like, cool watch, lots of it, lots of handwork, lots of all of this going into it, but struggling to see how they justify kind of, mid 150s towards 200,000 for them.
The way I saw it was like the bathtub curve, where you had both ends were quite high, and then there wasn't much in the middle. So we had guys like Denison, which is a revival brand based here in the UK, pumping out really good-looking watches at about maybe $700, $800. And then the other side, you had people like David Kando or a new brand called Stolen Worm that's American-based but Swiss-made, and they were shooting for the sky, crazy ideas. The guy behind it, there's no limits, there's no barriers. But again, you're talking 100k plus 150k. So there was all bases covered. It was just that middle part was kind of missing a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And there was definitely a wider range of brands. This show started off very much premium independent sector was probably how you'd best describe the majority of the exhibitors. It was your Mosers, MB&Fs, your Grubel Forzes, all of those guys were here and showing, your Chupex, all these kind of guys. Now you've got a lot of the available independents, so your Wakes, your I'm trying to think who else, your Denisons, as Ricky said. You had a few more of the German brands kind of sticking their hat in the ring as well. Micro Mil Spec, lots of stuff in that sub $3,000 category, and as Ricky said, lowest
and fears as well.
600 quid.
Yeah.
So and they were all in the same hotel, which is quite nice. It's like very much based around the hotel called the Beau Rivage, which is also weirdly undergoing pretty heavy maintenance at the moment. They're effectively gutting it to a core and rebuilding this hotel. But they've done a very good job of hoarding off this little core section of the hotel that you would never know once you're inside that it was being ripped apart. But the minute you get outside, it's just covered in hoardings. So they did a good job of it, and it's nice that you could go from a room and you're looking at a watch at $1,000, and you literally walk next door, and the guy's like, "Yes, this is a bargain at 250,000."
What that brand? I don't think I've heard of that. This is Denison. You mentioned this one.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Yep. So they kind of caught fire, I reckon, a year ago, maybe fractionally longer than a year ago, and they've got this vibe of these kind of vintage dual time. They're very much, fundamentally quartz. They're very slim. I think they're kind of 5-6 millimeters. Some of them. They use some quite funky materials, but they're literally a bargain price. They're kind of dress watches for folk who maybe don't really like dress watches. Is the way I would wear one. I'm not a dress watch person, but I would definitely wear one. Very cool.
Yeah, they're very sort of Piaget inspired.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you look at those kind of half blue, half red type, like the Piagets from the 60s, 70s with the stone dials that are now, they will bankrupt you trying to find a good one. You know, they're so expensive. But yeah, really cool pieces.
So they're dual time essentially. They're just two separate times.
Some are. There's both. They've got a range of both. But yeah, they're very good. Yeah, and I think someone's put in the comments, they were a huge case maker. They made masses of cases for the industry. That's kind of where the brand has some heritage, and it's a British guy that's brought it back to life, and he's definitely done well. It's kind of, I think, who is it? Was it Rihanna, or there was someone else? There was either a big singer, a big actress, female singer actress in the US wore one in the last month that apparently wasn't a placement. She just bought it and wore it to some mega event. So you know, it's obviously caught a bit of attention. They're very handsome looking watches for the money. They could easily be $1,000 and probably no one would blink an eye or more.
That's really cool. Was there any other brands that really stood out? I mean, Tag seemed to have quite some interesting models. I mean, Mark and I were talking about it before we went live.
To be honest, they showed three models, of which one model had 3 colorways or iterations, and there was two carbon models, Monaco and a Chrono, I think it was. They were both, these two. To be honest, the watches did very little for me from a kind of, ooh, that's a nice watch thing. What it did do for me was they've actually invested in a bit of serious technology, albeit it's been a 5, 6, 7 year project where they've decided that they won't use silicon hairsprings because of various issues. They believe, not technical issues, but with various accessibility issues with it. So they've been developing a fully carbon hairspring, and it's not oscillator. Well, they called it an oscillator because I think it works more on an oscillation principle, but it is a hairspring within a traditional escapement. It's not like what other brands have tried with an ultra high frequency oscillator. So it looks kind of like it's coming out of a silicon wafer, but they're carbon, and they're doing them in super limited numbers. I think it's 50 of each piece they're doing that goes into the market. So they're obviously still testing the water and probably learning from some mistakes of others in the past that have shoved a volume out into the market and hoped it would be okay. So I think they're doing a bit of due diligence, but they were quite cool. The others were, they were pitching it as a very innovative way to do a moon phase. To be honest, I would argue that it was hugely innovative. It's quite cool in terms of the aesthetic of it and the way they're showing it, which is the moon phases around that kind of 9 through 12 through to 3. They're hard printed on the dial. It's the little kind of compass arrow that actually indicates the moon phase. It kind of follows it and moves, and it's actually showing the moon phase. But it does certainly make for quite an impactful looking watch. Sorry, on you go, Mark.
Sorry, I actually saw the black dial and the two-tone at a Tag boutique yesterday.
Yeah, it's
two-tone doesn't work very well at all.
This one is not my
god awful.
I wouldn't say god awful. The one that's kind of cyan coloured, it was okay. Looking at the Monaco, it was okay, but we've seen things before. And the one that was the main chronograph in carbon, it reminded me of the nanograph that they did in a acidic lime green maybe 7 years ago, which was fantastic. I really liked it. It was back then the cheapest, most inexpensive Swiss-made tourbillon before Dave's company got involved in things. I thought Tag this year, it was their first time getting really involved in Geneva Watch Days, and it was a bit of a box tick. They didn't have the boutique open. They had got a couple of rooms in the Ritz-Carlton, and it was a couple of small rooms versus Bulgari, who have had stuff there for forever. And even the Zenith, they had an even smaller room showcasing what was in effect not a Pantone colour change chart, but something similar, tying in with a furniture manufacturer that Dave seems to like over in Switzerland. Yeah,
that one you've shown up there at the moment, that was by far and away the best looking of the watches they released. It actually is quite nice, stainless steel, nice kind of neutral grey strap on it. Not mental expensive either, and frustratingly super limited edition.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
At least,
it was limited, and I
yeah,
think the
500 pieces.
limited. And then they've done another bracelet one, which was particularly meh for me as well. But that one, actually, I quite liked. I think that's a decent looking watch. It's not ridiculously priced. It's got a pretty good caliber in it for what you get at the money. But if I remember rightly, was it even five? I don't know if it was even 500 pieces. It wasn't a big number on that one.
I was told that the grey and the two-tone were 500 pieces.
There we go. Could be.
And the black is a series product, is a normal production.
Right. It was the core one, and these two. But by that one there that you're showing on the screen,
it's sold out.
Yeah. I'm sure there was some in the AD chain in the network. I'm sure, but frankly, it kind of didn't stack up to me. They were fine. There was nothing, Tag for me. I think Tag's done a great job in the last couple of years of kind of bringing themselves back a little bit more relevant than maybe been in the past few years in terms of the watch community, because a lot of them were just very much Tag is what people that don't really know what they're buying buy, and I think that was maybe a little unfair, and I think they brought themselves back a little bit. And as Ricky said, Zenith, the watch was nothing, other than the colour dial. Actually, that's not true. It is a bit new. They've taken a watch that was only a time-only watch, and they've added a chronograph functionality to it, but kept the case size original. I think 37mm rings a bell.
But why, guys, are we talking about the most boring stuff of the week when we've got such limited time?
Yeah, and those ones, the watch case, it's a weird collab furniture company, but it's a cool furniture company. And actually, they had absolutely 100% the best box of any watch that you could possibly imagine. It's a piece of USM furniture that's actually a piece of USM furniture, and frankly, that was actually quite cool. And it wasn't insane money, but yeah, they were the more staid things. I think the nicest things out of that kind of group of brands was probably from Bulgari, who did a few things, but I don't think they even did anything that you wouldn't expect. A couple of special edition Octafinissimos, there's a shock, pretty cool, the one with all the etching on it, Ricky, but kind of expected, kind of
before.
The
LVMH stuff, it seemed to just be a placeholder before we get to the next Watches and Wonders, where things are 100 times bigger. So this was just to keep, as Dave says, keep their hat in the ring a little bit. But exactly. Let's move on to cool stuff now.
Yeah.
What was the cool stuff?
Everything else.
Yeah. What's about?
Do you want to go Raj for a bit, Dave? Do you want to have a look?
Amida were pretty cool.
Dave. Right. So here's the scene for you. First meeting that we had with Amida. It was their first meeting of the entire show, and they had done this crazy thing where they showed us a cool watch, nice, great, sapphire top, all the rest of it, things we've seen before. And then they said, we've got an NDA if you want to see something really cool. Dave, you can explain what happened without telling what the cool part was.
Yeah, so the end, I signed the NDA, which actually wasn't even worth a bit of paper it was printed on, But anyway, it was a mock-up NDA that was very much a kind of US government, CIA 1960s, 70s kind of narrative. You have to sign this, and you get you got a lanyard badge, very kind of US government security pass thing, and you get told to go to, because their stand was in a shared room with I think 3 or 4 other brands, because they cubby together because it's super expensive to exhibit there. So they cubby together. It was quite cramped. Here's a couple of watches. Great, brilliant. Thanks very much. Oh yeah, here's a pass. Go to whatever floor it was, 4th floor, I think. Go to room 420 or whatever it was. Knock 4 times and wait. Okay. Enough. What we went there, 4 times, door opens, and we were met with a gentleman with a particularly gruff attitude, and it was kind of come in. Then it was a very distinct shut the door. It was a room that was one that was being renovated, so it had been stripped back to the bare stone. There was wires hanging at the wall. It was literally a gutted shell. They had no lights in it, but they'd like a tripod interrogation type. As you walked in, bright white lights in your face so you couldn't see anything. A wooden table, phones out, anything electronic on that table, then through into another room, sit down. It was like an interrogation table, big file come out like, you would see in a film. Then he starts presenting a couple of things. We're not allowed to talk about it. Pulled like a proper CIA officer's suitcase out, hands it over to us. And then it hit 15 minutes. And he's like, you've seen enough. Give me the watch. Shut the case. Out. And that was it. Then just as we get out, he just hands us a little black thing, the little metal pin badge in it. He says, "Wear this, and you'll know that others that also know. Wear this, and you'll know that others that have got access to this project." Needless to say, it's a very cool thing that's coming.
Yeah. So this is brand Amida.
Yeah, these are the ones that have been out before. I think it's maybe 2 years ago we first heard about them. They launched maybe a year ago. The latest one that's out is that one on the left, the sapphire top, which it's a cool watch, really decent, good value for money. It's been engineered properly. It follows a tried and true method that was very popular in the 70s, obviously Casquette, MBNF more recently, and this is at a price point that is great. So great watches, but the way they did this presentation, not just for me and Dave, we were just the first guys. And because we were the first guys, we got the best version of it, because after they'd done it 300 times, they weren't quite as enthused. But it was just the way it was presented. Presentation is key. Food can look shit and taste great, but this was well done, and the effort they'd gone into, even the quality of the printing of the paper, it was like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., it was like the Ipcris files, it was like what was it, The Conversation with Gene Hackman, that kind of thing.
They'd gone the whole hog. It was like the proper thick kind of card that environmentalists would have a heart attack now if you used it, because you've used like 17 sheets worth of paper for one piece of paper. And it had the photos that were just, the slits in the paper that was in, and even the folders. You remember those really annoying metal things that came up when you slid it down and you folded them back, but they used to slash your fingers open when you tried to get into them? The whole thing, super well done. That was really cool.
What also helped there was the fact, as Dave mentioned, the rooms that we went through, you could smell the dust in the air. So it was almost like a safe house. And in the background, there was a reel-to-reel ancient, not cassette, but tape recorder. Yeah. There was a mechanical typewriter. There was all the stuff. And you're like, the guys have done well. They didn't cost much, but the ingenuity, it's what they also put into the watches. So, yeah, we really appreciated that. It set the week off to a good start.
And Micro Milspec did something similar. They had a regular room, but the rooms, let's say the hotel is a typical Genevian, high-end, opulent, soft furnished hotel that you would expect to pay thousands a night for. And Micro Milspec, of course, military, but not even military, but military watches, and it's kind of the early genesis of the company. They only provided watches to military departments. They've only in the last just under 2 years made watches available to the public. And they blacked out the entire room, black sheets. So it almost looked like a CIA kill room, this place. Like you walked in and all the lights were off. There was just little lights, black stuff literally taped to the walls. And, they had some watches. So, yeah, it was pretty innovative in the way the really young, vibrant, typically non-Swiss French in the case of Amida, and Scandinavian in the case of, Micro Milspec, just doing it differently, just really doing it differently. So they launched a watch with James Thompson, the Black Badger, who, of course, has done loom for MBNF and Urwork and Dabathun and a multitude of others. His own stuff and Hot Blunts as well. And he's done a collaboration watch with these guys, which was kind of launched at the show.
Okay. Okay. So maybe they're not got it on the site yet.
It's right in front of you on the right-hand side. 2 down. Scroll down. Scroll down. One. Stop. To the right. Down one.
Oh, sorry.
Nope.
Not this one. No. Sorry.
Do you even internet,
bro?
Sorry. My mistake. I got too trigger happy. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
And this one was interesting. When they launched this watch, I think they announced it a few weeks back, but no one had seen it. And they wiped their entire Instagram, completely wiped their Instagram permanently of every image that was on it. And then just suddenly this popped up. So, innovative in the way they do stuff, and also making some pretty cool product, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's a Destro, is it? Or is it just me seeing things? It has got
right.
It's absolutely
Destro.
Destro. Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool. Yeah. Awesome.
So that. What else was cool? I mean, there was a few things.
The new Ming.
The new
was cool.
We can go to that. Yeah, I was just trying to work through the different hotels, but yeah, the new Ming. So a few brands that haven't. Ming have presented there, but Fears were there. They haven't presented. Shapiro.
Look at that.
And they all clubbed together. Yeah, they all clubbed together and hired a venue just to kind of share the cost burden. I think there was 4 of them, because I think there was also
Unimatic, Messina Labs, Fears, Ming, and Shapiro.
Yeah.
all coming together to do stuff. And this Ming is pretty special, pretty good looking. This is their new, they call it their 5th generation design language, but it's technically actually the 4th, because the whole, they're an Asian-based company, and they really aren't keen on the number 4. So they call it the 5th design iteration, but as I say, technically the 4th. And these stepped lugs, each step on the lug is actually a completely separate part, because as he was saying, normally in this stepped lug, you can't get defined edges on them if it's one piece, and they had really sharp edges, and they were satinized on one bit and polished on one surface on each of the lugs, and even the inside faces of the step ups were a satin finish on there as well. Pretty cool piece. And they were showing a few of the other things they'd done. Nicholas at Fears. And the nice thing was it was collaborative. In the room, you kind of sat down and you had the watchmaker from Shapiro, you had Nick from Fears, you had Ming 10 from Ming, and you had, we didn't actually see the Unimatic guys. I think they get dragged into some meeting, but they were sitting together and kind of going through it, showing their watches. So, there was very little in the way of like, oh, no, MySpace. It was really good.
Well, the reason for that is they created this new thing. You've heard of the AHCI and all the rest of it, GPHG. Well, they've got the AHA, the AHA, the Alternative Horological Association or Academy, and they help each other out. And a little bit like maybe me and Dave have spoken about in the past, especially on the podcast that we do. In the UK, you've got the Alliance of British Watch and Clockmakers, where Fears and Studio Underdog help each other out. They help new guys out and older guys, Garrick, etc. This is a bit of a collaborative work, using the economies of scale and the fact that when they do things in different countries, they can put it through their own business, therefore saving import tax, export duties, all that kind of stuff, and everybody wins out of it at the end of the day.
Yeah. The Unimatic was it had a meteorite
Cerakote,
tail.
I think it was, with a meteorite and NASA logos and stuff on it. It was quite nice.
Yeah, they launched one. They've used that Cerakote kind of weathered look on cases before, and they did a quite a cool piece. I think that was done with Messina.
Yeah.
Their kind of collaborative effort. Nice piece. If you like Unimatic, they've definitely got a very specific look and feel about them. So if you like them, then you're going to like that. And the Shapiro, they were showing their kind of watch, their new piece that is, they're proudly touting it. It physically says on the dial US made, and we kind of did give them the 3rd degree about, well, we all know that to have made in USA or US made on something, that it's a pretty tall bar. And they were pretty honest. They said, I think he said 97% of the watch and everything in it is made in the USA. The rubies are not, and I think possibly it was maybe the sapphire. There was a couple of little parts weren't, but the hairspring and everything's done in the US. But they said, that they were confident if they were challenged on it that they could. I think they said the phrasing in the law is it has to be meaningfully made in the USA. And
they did. We quizzed them. They said the hairspring came from Precision Engineering, which is
he said the raw material, I think, came from.
They shaped it.
They shaped it. So it was actually very much in the Roger Smith high-end artisanal watchmaking category. Very traditional. Not hugely my thing, but then actually it was a pretty impressive piece of work. It's as close as that type of watch has come to kind of tweak my interest. And it was expensive, but it wasn't insanity. Yeah. So it was pretty cool.
I can't find that Unimatic, but I like the Unimatic, and the guys are really cool, aren't they? That run it. I've interviewed them on the channel.
And who else was cool? Prelobe, the brand that kind of broke into the limelight, a French brand, broke into the limelight maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe fractionally longer ago, doing the whole no hands, the kind of rotating dials to tell the time. Who always had a caliber that was a bespoke caliber for them, but wasn't necessarily designed and engineered for them. But they launched their new genuinely in-house caliber. And I actually caught up. So the business is actually run by a lady, and spoke to her. And she was, I kind of quizzed her as to, what's the story? And she said, well, we've engineered it all, we've designed it all, we did all the math, the geometry, everything. And they are in France, and just outside Paris, actually making significant movement parts. So they're making platines or main plates, they're making bridges. At this point, they're not making screws and wheels, but there is a desire that they will move towards that. They're opening a kind of new facility and expanding it, and they want to get to a point where I think they're going to start making cases in the next 6 months in France. She said the only point at the minute that they're not planning to do is the dials. And she says we don't need to worry about hands because we don't have any hands on our watches. But I think interesting to see that there's another country. We know the US and the UK have been pushing make watch complicated parts and caliber parts in their countries. Looks like France is about to significantly join that club as well. So it's, of course, Japan and Germany are in that club.
I think Dave missed the meeting that we had because he was doing all kinds of stuff. But Chris Alexander, the dial artist, also a local Scottish guy, everybody probably knows who he is, he filled in for Dave today. And we were looking at the new tree lobe with the integrated bracelet. And it was really cool. Can't remember the exact name of it, but it was pretty good. So keep an eye on those guys.
Yeah.
They're doing good stuff.
I think I popped in to see them just after you'd left because I get caught up in a meeting. But super cool. Nice company, doing something. I mean, you'll either love or hate the aesthetic. To be fair, you're not. It's a good thing. And a few of the brands actually said that. They said we want to take our time to launch things because we don't want it to be meh. We want folk to have a kind of visceral reaction to it, good or bad. And this is a brand that I think falls into that. Folk kind of appreciate them for what they do, but at the same time, you'll either love or hate the aesthetic of it, which is, in my opinion, a good thing.
Well, I don't know about Dave, but my brain's not working properly after a full week of just non-stop watches. So maybe if you guys have spotted a brand or a release, you can ask if we saw it and we can talk about that instead of the opposite way around.
Pete, you've been following it, haven't you?
Yeah, but you've actually covered off on all the watches I was interested in.
End of the show.
The tree lobe I'm really interested in. I will own a tree lobe at some point. Ming I'm really interested in. I will own a Ming at some point. And you just covered off on those. And a lot of the other stuff is like super high end and really interesting, but it's never gonna kind of. It's who was the one that made? Was it Fernand Batude? The one I think as handmade as it possibly can watch, where they tried to make every single piece by hand.
No, that's the Geneva Watch Days handmade. No.
It's a different company. There's a challenge that they go into, and you have to like register, and they I can't remember who it was. Someone else has done it. I know Grubel's done it in the past, and another
they've got a new one.
And another company tried to do one of those, and I thought it was Fernand Batude. Nice looking watch. Maybe? Sorry?
David Candle. He was saying he was doing a lot himself.
It was a brand. One of the classic high-end brands that turn up and do GPHG and all that sort of thing. But I can't remember what it was. I was just curious to know what it looked like in person if you got to see it, but it sounds like you didn't.
Ferdinand Batu have done, they do very much work in that kind of territory. The Fusee chain, someone's put, they've been doing that principle for a couple of years now, and I think they have been more and more working towards that kind of narrative as well. As to whether it's handmade to the level of something like the Grubel Forze, I don't know. But the Fusee chain stuff, we've seen it quite a lot, which is pretty cool. What else did we see? Moser, of course, had some cool stuff. They've taken a kind of version. They obviously have their sister company who do the Wandering Hours complication. And they've launched a couple of models with the Wandering Hour. And the one that really did catch my eye, they do a kind of very subtle light grey fume effect piece. Yep, that's it here. You can see it there. The Satellite Wandering Hours. And that is...
Dave, did I not just remind you of the little centre thing, the spindle that you'd put on your record player to play 45s?
Exactly. I mean, I am actually old enough to remember that. So yes, thanks for reminding me.
No problem.
That is a very good looking watch. And to be honest, I'll probably get humdrum and quartered for saying this, but actually one of the coolest watches out there is we got to play with something that's not super new, but probably most folk hadn't had a hands on. They launched the Pit Crew well, it's not. In fact, it was not a connected watch, but the digital tool watch that they created for the Alpine Formula One team, which is based on it's a streamliner case on a strap. So this one here. Interestingly, it doesn't even qualify as a watch, so it doesn't even attract the tariffs for the United States because you can't even set the time on the watch itself. It's a fully. You need to. It talks to the app on the phone. It's for the team, and the team can be pushed technical information about the cars and what's coming in to the display on it. But also it's got a few world timer and various other complications and functions. And you would expect quality of manufacture it's a Moser at the end of the day, so it's very high, and it's circa £4,500, which is.
Was that the one that was done in collaboration with Adrian Buchman?
He made it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And frankly, £4,500 is a large sum of money for something that is not even technically actually a watch, but actually very cool. And there is a high bar to entry. They're kind of only available either in the kit with the new Agilor-based chronograph, or if you've bought a couple of specific watches in the last year, you can have access to buy one. But definitely I would say watch this space, because there's something maybe or maybe not coming that might be very similar but more accessible, I think would be the best way to describe it. So I actually think that I think honestly, the cool thing with that is it's a serious watchmaking company actually trying to not make out that just because it's not mechanical it's not cool. It's
a serious watchmaking company. They make things out of cheese and grass. Yeah, I get it. Dave. No, that was good. Get
Is that the one that entered
yeah.
in GPHG?
That one,
the streamliner.
Not sure. Not sure.
Sorry, you're absolutely right. That one has been entered into the challenge prize, I think, if I remember rightly. The
petite anguille. I'm going to murder this. The petite whatever comes next. Anguille.
Anguille,
I think it is.
Petite aiguille.
Yeah.
You should hear some of the things we were told this week. We were told that a watch was being collaborated with a motorcycle racist, not a racer. We also get told that this watch was for both men and women because it was bisexual. So it's been a great week. Geneva Watch Days.
It's amazing when the nuances of someone who only speaks French or German predominantly has to speak English nonstop, and they just
some of that
creeping in.
Some of that came out in a recent Breitling press release where they did the NFL thing, and somehow or other, the quote came out. We want, because they're getting involved with NFL and they want to become more American, blah 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 blah, and then somehow it came out with we're trying to connect with our Anglo-Saxon roots when describing their relationship with perhaps the blackest sport in America. So it was just weird language, and I put it down to that's someone who doesn't speak English
or hasn't seen the NFL at all. Possibly both.
They don't understand the concept of what they've actually just paid a lot of money to sponsor. But there we go. I think Thomas has asked the MB&F Legacy machine, the new Evo version, is exceptionally good. Smaller, more wearable. Still absolutely MB&F, and still in the kind of less attainable price point sector for sure. But it's 70-ish, if I remember rightly. It was in that ballpark.
Yeah, it was about 70, 80. Dave arrived. I think you came the day after I did, and with the quietness of the show not happening, I headed up to the Mad Galleries to check out what they were doing. So they had the new Mad editions with the crazy guy from, I think it's London. He stays in this artist I cannot pronounce.
British Nigerian artist who, if you're British, famously the Marks and Spencer's shopping bags that have got bright colours on them, which if you're British, it's a bit of an icon. He designed that bag, and he's done quite a few other collabs. Like he's done some North Face stuff and very much street fashion and mainstream stuff. That's who he was. He collabed on the new Mad Ones.
Mad 1S's. So it was
Yeah.
the new 3 of them. And I think me and Dave agreed on it. The original Mad 1, when it came out, that we could not get because we're not good enough friends of MBNF. It was lovely. The blue one. And I thought it was blue and white, but I actually got to see one. It's blue and grey. So that completely put me off, and I feel great about it. Second one was the black and red, which I bought because it was the one I could get my hands on. Love it. The green was okay. And then the colour started to desaturate, and we went off the boil with it. The only one that looked kind of good was maybe the Love one that maybe was 2 years ago, and it looked like Mario Kart font. But these ones, it's back to what it should be. It's something that punches you in the face. It's mad, it spins, it grabs your attention, even though it is the smaller size. So it was cool looking at these ones.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's awesome. Cool. We had another. We've got a couple of other questions as well. We got. Oh yeah, since they released an Alpina.
They did. A couple of colorways. Dave?
Yeah.
Didn't
Remember the NDA they made us sign?
Yeah. Should we say
Yeah, we
about
should.
that, or should we?
We don't say what's in it. We say what it was all about, though.
Exactly. So we can go with they were showing us something that is not actually going public until I think November or December time. In fact, I think they actually even decided they didn't really know exactly when it was going live, and could we sign this NDA? And we'd had to sign an NDA for Breitling before we even went to the show, which was fine because we went to see some stuff with them. And it was it wasn't even a 1 page, it was a 3/4 page. Here's a couple of things you can't talk about. Sign here and we'll come and hunt you down if you talk about them. Fine, no problem. Sign Mickey Mouse. Well done. Thanks very much. And then they handed us, while sitting in a room with a half-hour appointment, I think either 7 or 9 page NDA. And I'm the kind of special person that actually reads things before they sign it. So I thought, I'll have a quick speed read of this, kind of fluttering through it. And it came to, I think, page 6, where it stipulated that if we were to break the embargo by releasing information pertinent to the US government and any of its agencies. So I think they'd literally gone on to Google and found an NDA and said, that'll do. And then on the front of it, we noticed that actually the date on it was 2019.
And it expired 90 days after the date
in
in 2019.
We were told a section that said it ran in perpetuity. And then there was another section that said that it ran out 90 days after the dating on the front page. So we realised that we were signing an NDA that actually ran out 6 years ago. So that was highly humorous. They were very unbothered by the US government section. Oh, that's just one of these things you put in NDAs, until we started picking holes in the rest of it. And he did look a little more concerned at that point, especially the date part. But
yeah, the dates matter on an NDA.
Yeah, and this is something they'd been handing out for a couple of days already.
I think we were.
So it shows you how many people read it.
On them, yeah, and they're kind of like, oh. But yeah, that was fun. Although they did show us, what else did they show us? They showed us. Was it the Frederick?
That one there.
They were. The green one was the best of all of them. It didn't set the world on fire for me, frankly. I quite like the brand. They've not done, in my opinion, much in the last good few years that is of any real interest to me. They seem to not really have found where they want to be. They've been through the try some smartwatch sector. They've tried to be Maurice Lacroix. They've tried to be something that I just don't think they can find a place. But we did see, obviously from the same group, that being Citizen Group, the Frederick Constance, and they did actually have a couple of very cool watches. The dressy watch, I can't even remember what it's called, Ricky. My head's melted now, but there was, I think, a blue one and a silvery grey one from memory. It was actually a really good looking watch. It was by far and away the best thing that Citizen Group had launched at the show. A couple of new versions of the perpetual calendar, which were is excellent value, to be honest, for what it is. If you're into perpetual calendars, that's it there. That's a great looking watch. Really, really good looking watch. Lovely bracelet. Wonder if they'll get sued for that one, because it's kind of skirting close to the edge of something else.
I like Hermes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good looking watch. And then they had these. This was a gold onyx dialed.
Audemars Piguet. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's like, cool. This is the code 7249. But pretty good looking, and it's a very good value watch.
They are good. They're really good.
A solid, you're getting a solid, reasonably high complication for not insane money in that. And even in gold, I don't think, from memory, it was not insane.
Did you get any good swag from the brands?
Yes.
What?
Basketball, I think it was, from MBNF, and the colour scheme from the artist. Oh, are we going to go through all the stuff?
Yeah, it's up there. It's like that. You can see this colorway. I would stand up and get it, but then you'll realise that I am like a newscaster casting from home because I've got no trousers on. So frankly, I'm not.
No. You could just
TMI, definitely TMI.
You can see it up here. So this is it's like that's going to be a good toilet bag, and it's got a little basketball that you have to blow up, which will get blown up, and then over the next 20 years slowly deflate, sadly, in the corner of a shelf somewhere.
The best swag we got was from a new brand, American guy. Don't know exactly his background, but he seems to know a lot about business because he's run a few, including creating a new concept car. And it was Stolen Worm, I believe. They had some really, really funky ideas, and it's their first go at it. So they've been going around all the places over in Switzerland, finding people that can do dials and cases and this, that, and the other. They were using some crazy metals Dave will tell you all about, but their swag was incredible. I got a tiny little flashlight, not a flashlight, a flashlight that I went on Amazon and looked, and it was like £80 UK for this little thing. Awesome. I think it's Phoenix to make it. But Dave, tell us about these watches. We'll give them a bit of airtime because they gave us some cool swag.
What was the brand
called? They gave us some cool swag. What they actually did was they gave us one thing different each. And Ricky's klepto hand, he went in the bag and grabbed the torch before anyone could even realise there was a torch in the bag. So he got
You got a jigsaw, didn't you?
Actually saying, Gav got a jigsaw out of it, which is probably going to be one of his kids' Christmas presents. And I got a bag. I like, they love giving things away, to be honest. A lot of the stuff you say no to because frankly you just need to bring a separate suitcase, and frankly most of it is like ends up in the bin. I judge them under tote bags. You know, they all give out these tote bags. I like a good tote bag. There is some absolute junk, you know, like the kind of stuff that if you spit in its general direction it falls apart. But the Denison one was very good. If I remember rightly, it was bright green, heavy duty. That'll do for the weekly messages. Shopping. Messages, shopping.
From the store.
Granny went for our messages. So the green one was very good, but the stolen one was excellent. It was a proper structured bag.
Stolen.
WURM. STOLLENWURM, something like that. Stolen Worm.
It's a mythical creature from Switzerland.
Yeah, it's a Swiss mythical snake come dragon come toothed.
It's their Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
Stollenworm. Aha.
Yeah, they barely even have a website.
That sounds about right.
They're brand new. They're absolutely brand new.
I think I'm not sure, but I was kind of leaning towards a married couple or a.
Is it this one?
Let me see what comes up. That's them.
Oh wow!
So this worm is a mythical Swiss beast, a bit like, you know, in the kind of phase, and they were very much into their whole tarot cards and mythical mystydom and all this. And Ricky's wife is over with them, and she just absolutely loves all that nonsense and was all over and about it. The watches technically were pretty solid. They were using tantalum. They were using some, you know, quite interesting materials. They were doing a lot of work, even down to it being
this bracelet. If you go back to that bracelet you just saw, this is what caught my eye. It was very cool. And this is our first attempt, our first go at things.
I can't find it. It kind of did it pop up for a second? Oh, it pops up for a second and then it went. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
it was very, very good. Very nicely made, but frankly, you know, and even like the dial is full metadar, so it's, you know, we're talking kind of like wire work, we're talking grand fu enamel, we're talking guilloche, we're talking anglash polishing, you know, the whole shooting match when it comes to a suite of metadar kind of finishing and stuff.
So we're talking 100,000 Swiss francs plus.
Well, actually, what he said was, I can't remember his exact pitch, but it was something. Oh, yes, he said, you know, in America, you get that thing called the dollar store where everything's a dollar. He says all of our watches are 100,000. Like, but I was like,
we should also add in there, he said, because he's new at it, the cost price is also quite close to that. So
Yeah,
the
I
people
think-
that are getting these are going to have unique things that are worth a lot more if you were to get it from other brands.
Correct. Put it this way: the dial. He threw us. I'm pretty sure he threw us a number about the dial, and it was kind of like you could buy yourself an extremely nice watch for the price that he's paying to have the dial done by the artist. So, you know, it's a. My vibe I got was the guy's trying hard at it, and he is definitely not. Ignore the aesthetic, but he's definitely not beating about the bush when it comes to doing what he does. He's using really premium materials. He's throwing a lot at it. But I think there's maybe a little bit of naivety there. Although that said, I think he seems to have got, you know, a bit of interest from a group of folk that he's interested in. It'd be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, we physically got to play with some watches. It wasn't some kind of here's some 3D printed models or here's a half-baked prototype. There was, I think, 4 or 5 watches we saw. And I can't remember the number, Ricky, you might remember. There's a given number of these cards. There's a deck of cards. Yeah. And I think there will be, I think it was one of each, wasn't it?
Can't remember the exact details. There's so many back-to-back meetings that last half an hour and then you rush to your next one. Trying to remember it all is really tricky. But he had full, I think that's the actual artist, who's now doing this full time to get everything produced and put together. Yeah. It was all very well put together. I say his background with business, he's not dicking about. He knows what's going on. And this is a passion project where he's got the legs to take it forward. And I think he's got the background that he can make it happen. So it's not a case of, oh shit, we've run out of money, we're not going to be able to complete this. I think he will. And just like people have done other things in the past, fingers crossed, because this is what we need. We need new people, not just at the Studio Underdog price point. We need people to be producing stuff at all ranges so that the watch world keeps moving forward, especially over the last couple of years. So fingers crossed he does well at it. Yeah. And thank for the torch.
You just stole the whole profit margin, Ricky.
I know.
Awesome. Wouldn't it be funny if the $100,000 company it's a fake torch that he's got? That'd be quite funny if he finds out it's fake later.
Orange Hand says the Zenith Defy Chronos released this week look awesome, but we touched on those. Awesome. Eric saying, any advice on how to attend watch days other than buy a plane ticket and book a hotel?
The clue's in his question. Pretty much book a plane ticket and book a hotel.
Where is Eric from is the first question. I'll give you the quick rundown that me and Dave have done on the podcast for the past few months. Depending where you are in the world, and if you're in the UK, it's easy. If you're in Scotland, it seems to be the easiest. I say to people, it's quicker and cheaper for me to get from Glasgow to Geneva or Zurich than it is to get to London. For the amount of dicking about, going to an airport, flying down, then you've got to travel, blah, blah, blah. To get to Geneva from here is super inexpensive, $100 return. I'm currently in a studio apartment 2 streets away from where everything happens, and it's maybe €120 a night. It's got a full bath,
That's
got
a good
kitchen,
deal, then.
It's got a massive bedroom that I'm in just now. I'm using the back end of it with studio lights set up. You can dump your stuff and you can be at your first appointment in 5 minutes. If you're coming from the States, have a look and see if there's any collector groups. That was a big thing we spotted this year. In the UK, the Watch Collectors Club run by Hamish, he puts a couple of events on in Glasgow and Manchester as well. He was bringing enthusiasts over and going around almost like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, leading the children, the rats and the children, I suppose you could say, all around Geneva, going to all these cool places. Find a local place, check in with the Horological Society in New York, see what they're doing for Geneva Watch Days, get across, figure it all out, plan ahead. As soon as the dates are announced, be ready to pounce on booking.com, find something. Adagio, I think it is the place we are staying in just now. Inexpensive. Yeah, and everything is nearby. We've got a food place at the end of the road that's also inexpensive. We bumped into Roman Charf. He was in there having food. We bumped into Casa. We bumped into loads and loads of people you wouldn't expect. But that's the best advice. Find something cheap to get to Geneva and then just kick around. Find a cheap place to stay in and just love life.
I just booked a work flight from Newark to Zurich on Swiss. So that was about $900 all in. And that's a direct flight Newark to Zurich.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily too expensive to fly from the US to Switzerland. Just bear in mind it's a 8.5-hour flight.
Right.
But, that's the trouble of being in the wrong time zone.
aside from the long haul travel, just when the dates are out, book the hotel. They do ramp up the closer you get. It's not even the fact that the show attracts millions of people to Geneva. It's not even that. It's just the closer you are, the more expensive it gets. So just get your booking in. The beauty is, like, if you book something like Ibis or any of the chains, there's a couple of decent hotels. They do a thing, you pay a little bit more, you can cancel up to 24 hours before you actually arrive. So frankly, it's a no-brainer. Just book it the minute it comes out. They don't even take your money off of you. They just hold it. So you're perfectly safe. Do that. Sort out your flight. Register, go to their website. Their website used to be truly awful for Geneva Watch Days, but they've now got actually a half reasonable website. You can go on and you can register. You can do it even right now. Just register and get your whatever email address you want on their kind of mailing list. And they will email you nothing until about 2.5 to 3 months out. Then they slowly but surely just start bombarding you with, click here to register, click here for this, click here for that. And you just register. You get, most of the brands have a kind of open diary book type thing, like a plannable thing. You can go in, pick an appointment, click it, and you can book some time with them. So it's
and I think you've just hit on the key, isn't it? Is that most of the things are by appointment one way or another.
They are.
That said, yes, if you want significant time with them, for sure. But at the same time, most of the brands said also this year was the first year that they were asked to adopt a fractionally more open door policy, that if the room was full, they're going to say come back later. But at the same time, they were kind of being encouraged to let folk in for a quick look, not necessarily a sit down with Edward Malin at Moser to go through the range, but certainly someone will kind of go, oh yeah, we can show you some stuff and things like that. So you don't have to feel that you're beholden to any of these brands. But if there's any brands you really do want a bit of serious time with, you might be considering purchasing it. Book the time with them, and it's generally speaking on a first come first serve basis. A few of the bigger brands are a little more controlled about how you book appointments. You might have to reach out to the brand themselves and say, hey guys, I'm interested in having a look at this piece. I'm considering buying it. 9 times out of 10 at the end of the day, these guys want to sell watches, so they'll make time for you as long as you're not kind of kicking tires.
So it's a very different experience to a standard watch show, like totally. British Watchmakers Day or
it's nothing like it. No, the way that Geneva Watch Days works, and the way I'm glad that Dave said at the very end what he did, because I needed to ram this home. When we were hanging around with Chris Alexander, the dial artist, now he's somebody of note and merit. He collaborates with everybody and anybody, does great work. He had difficulty just turning up. He had difficulty asking to see things because he was always treated like a second-class citizen. So if you're traveling, especially from the US or further afield, when you're getting in touch, definitely get in touch with brands ahead of time. Tell them you're traveling from a different country, you're a collector, and you're interested. Then they'll make the time for you, because they have to weigh up, am I going to spend half an hour with somebody that's just a tire kicker, that takes me away from meeting a collector that spends 100 grand a year, or a media outlet like Hodinkee or Scottish Watches, or whoever it is that's coming along? So you need to do that. And the other thing I'm going to tell people is the Swiss don't appear to have a sense of humour that they're aware of. It's a little bit like Men in Black, because I nearly got arrested once, and then we had some trouble today as well. I nearly got arrested because they were dynoing little moped scootery things to see if people had made more horsepower out of them, and I thought that was brilliant. A little dyno in the road for little mopeds, and I was filming it when the police came up and went to grab me, and Dave had to save the day.
I think, to be honest, he said he was nearly arrested. I think the formal phrase is he was detained to answer some questions. Well, not quite as brutal as American cops, as in he wasn't put in cuffs and shoved in the back of a cruiser. But at the same time, they made it quite clear that he couldn't just wander away. And they, decided to make I'm aware of a few facts about their Swiss privacy laws. So but that's actually just the Swiss are the Swiss. It's like anywhere you go, to be honest. Look up the book, about what you are and aren't allowed to do. Switzerland's pretty easygoing, to be honest with you, but they have pretty strict privacy laws, or your right to privacy is quite heavily protected.
I was going to say the Australian term for that is Ricky was helping them with their inquiries.
Correct. Yeah. So that's
under duress.
Maybe ask you some questions, sir. You may be able to assist us. The other thing, Eric, is also bring cash. That's a very Swiss thing. Bring cash and bring lots of it, because they do tend to charge for absolutely everything. Food is you can eat reasonably, but if you like moderate to nice food, it is definitely more expensive than probably most places you've been. It's not insane. We're not talking like bankruptcy prices, but at the same time, you can spend a lot of money very quickly in some restaurants if you're not sure.
And I might also say, if you're from the US, remember that Switzerland is a very small country. So that if you find it difficult to fly from your local airport to Geneva, most places are only 2 hours away or less by train.
Yep.
The last time I was in Switzerland, it was cheaper for us. We had an Airbnb. We were there for a week. We arrived, got to the Airbnb, hired a car for 1 day, drove over to Germany, did our grocery shopping, and then drove back and gave the car back. That was the cheapest way of doing it.
That's an interesting, and of course it does happen. Just be aware that they also do spot inspections at the borders, and if you're caught bringing food back, the fine will be, let's just say, more than the difference between the food you just bought that you thought was cheap and what you would have paid for it in Switzerland. And they're getting more and more militant about that thing.
Yeah. We probably had $400 worth of Aldi shopping in the back.
So. And the giveaway is there's no Aldi in Switzerland. I bet you that comes from shock and horror.
Yeah.
We haven't we didn't mention Harage. Do you want to do a few minutes? I mean, I put the contains product promotion sticker on, so we might as well take advantage.
Is this where I'm like one of these 1960s smoking adverts, and I just subliminally tell everyone to buy Harage watches? We didn't actually, we weren't exhibiting per se at the show. It's something we are considering, but we didn't per se do it. But we did launch this a week ago, 10 days. I'm trying to remember, but either a week or 2 weeks ago, which was our new world timer. And we did have, a couple of clients that were over here just because they're over from the US or Asia or the Middle East, and kind of had dropped us a message and asked if they could quickly meet up to have a look at a few pieces and stuff. Quite a few brands did that. There's a few brands, I think Awake from France were doing something similar. They weren't per se officially here, but they had a range of their watches, and they would meet in cafes and show people stuff as well. So yeah, we showed a few people this, which is our new world timer based on our Lensman 2 watch. We did the exposure calculator version a couple of years back, which allows you to set your camera, based on your light conditions and your ISOs. And this one actually is a world timer version of it as well, using our K2 micro rotor. So that one went live for pre-orders with delivery starting from November.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that was awesome. Thanks for that. And thanks everyone for being so active in the comments and all the questions. So big thanks to the panel, and we'll see you all next week on Casual Watch Talk Sunday Social. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Sam. Take care, guys.
Have a good one.
See you.